Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Show Me Show podcast. On today's show, we got Week 2 NFL rundown, and then we got the Mizzou game. They had a great upset win at K-State, so we'll get into that, and then we'll preview Week 3 of the NFL and Week 4 of the college football slate, and it is just an awesome slate. And then also we have some Cardinals talk because for once something happened. One thing really good and one thing really bad. But yeah, let's get into the Week 2 rundown here. So we start off Week Dose in the city of brotherly love, where the Birds took on the Vikings. But just because it was a primetime game doesn't mean primetime Kirk came out for this one, as he threw for over 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. But that wasn't going to be enough to stop the best play in football, as Jalen made it hurt so good as he snuck into the end zone twice. And Minnesota was Sleepy Joe carrying the ball all night, matching their amount of touchdowns with just as many fumbles at 4. The reigning Super Bowl runners-up moved to 2-0 with a 34-28 win.
We head down to Atlanta where we head down south to Atlanta where the Pack faced off against Arthur Smith and his mustache. This game was sick from the start as defense and the running game started hot. But not all love is true. Drunk love being the exception, of course, and Jordan showed that on the QB sneak, stumbling and losing his balance before the ball was even snapped. Bijan Mustard was dazzling defenders all over the field, squirting his way to first down after first down, helping the Falcons turn into the anti-Falcon, overcoming a double-digit fourth-quarter deficit. Desmond Ridder continues to be undefeated at home, courtesy of the Week 2 Young Ho Koo special with a 25-24 win.
Next, we head to the only stadium located in New York, and that is, of course, being Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, where the Bills looked to right the ship versus the very handsome Raiders. Bills fans thought their worst nightmares were coming true as the Fighting Jimmy G's marched right down the field for a touchdown on their first drive. But it was all Bills after that, as James said, "Let me cook," going for 123 yards on the ground. And do you remember Latavius Murray, Cam? The guy who shows up on a random team every year to score touchdowns every week?
Oh, I remember Latavius Murray,
yeah,
Lucas.
Well, he scored for the Bills in this one, too, helping Brandon Allen and the Bills Mafia to a 38-10 win.
Now it's time for us to head to Cincy for an AFC North war between the Bungles and the Ratbirds. Joe Burrow and that Cincy offense was getting booed by their home crowd as if to say, "Wake up," after the Ravens got out to an early lead. Despite getting their first touchdown of the year in the third quarter, they were not able to mount a comeback against the Ravens, who have somehow made Nelson Aguilar good. Cincy falls to 0-2 with a 27-24 loss.
To the Motor City, where MCDC and the Lions look to start 2-0 at home against the Seahawks. And as we all should have remembered from the game last year, we needed to take the over in this one. Both teams went back and forth with each other the whole game, shout out Ray Allen, leading to 3 lead changes and 3 ties. Kenneth Skywalker forced his way into the end zone twice, shout out Big Ben, and helped the Seahawks tie it up in the second half, sending it to OT. And as we all should have predicted, the first team to touch the ball went down and scored a touchdown, capping it off to the newly married Tyler Lockett to put a ring on this game. Hawks win 37-31.
If you like OT games, Luke, you're going to like this one down in the Music City between the San Diego Chargers and the Tits. This could have been the mid-off between Herbert and Tannehill, as neither QB played excellent or really bad. In fact, nothing from this game really stood out at all, other than both kickers coming in clutch down the stretch. Dicker, the kicker, to send it to overtime, and Falk to walk it off. Tits win their first game of the year, 27-24.
Next, we take a trip to West Florida, where the Baker Bucks took on Bustin Fields and the measly Chicago Bears. Mike Evans-Trout was surprising the defense all day, going for 170 yards and a trip to the end zone, while Chris Goodman complimented nicely too. The Bucks had a great defense today too, holding Fields to just 3 rushing yards, helping Baker to cook up another 300 passing yard day. Trying to lead a game-winning drive, Fields coughed it up. Shout out people with asthma, with a pick 6 to Shaq Barrett. Tampa wins 27-17, and the Bucs are 2-0. Huh?
Huh? We're going to stay down in the Sunshine State for a divisional round match between the Jags and the Chiefs. Patrick was feeling back at Mahomes with his number one option back on the field in Kels, finding him for a score. But before that, unlike 50 Cent, Mahomes looked to the sky more, finding the sophomore receiver for a first-half touchdown. Even though the Kansas City defense was bent severely, it never broke, as the Jags made 4 trips to the red zone without ever crossing the goal line. Chiefs take a narrow win, 17-9.
Next, we head to the Lone Star State, where 2 rookie QBs were set to face off. The Colts pulled their AR-15s out early to start the shootout against the Stroud boys, as he ran for 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. But unfortunately, the first to draw their weapon was the first to go down, as Anthony Richardson was concussed before halftime. But that didn't faze Indy, as pro-America alpha male, shout out Nick Adams, Gardner Minshew took the reins, completing 19 of his 23 passes to guide the Colts over the Texans, who were trying not to riot to a comeback behind Stroud's 380 yards. But it wasn't enough as the Colts win a good old-fashioned Western battle, 31-20.
Time for the afternoon games, and the first is out at SoFi, where the 49ers fans packed the stadium like it was their house against the Rams. CMC had another big day, going for 116 yards and a tutty, making his inevitable injury even more sadder. But speaking of big days from running backs, where did this Kyren Williams guy come from, and how is he so good? Going for 2 touchdowns and 100 all-purpose yards. As the game came down to the wire, the Rams lined up for the field goal with 4 seconds left. And it's up, and it's good! The Rams miraculously cover the 7.5-point spread with their last-second field goal, and the Niners win 30-23. Some spread.
Across the desert to Phoenix, where the G-Men look to get their first win of the year against the Birds, who are trying to avoid their first win. This game couldn't have started any worse for the Giants, as the Cardinals got out to a 20-0 lead at halftime. But just when Giants fans thought they'd never score this year, Danny Dimes flew into the end zone as the Giants started to say, don't call it a comeback. But in a tribute to Kim Kardashian, that's exactly what they did, going on a 31-8 run in the second half. And this time, the last-second field goal mattered for the results of the game. Giants win a nail-biter, 31-28.
We move up to the Mile High City, where the Washington looked to take a commanding lead on their season against the Ponies. But early on, it was Denver defending their territory against the Halaban, getting a commanding 21-3 lead as Marvin wasn't starving, going for 100 yards and a touchdown. But just like in the Middle East, the tide started to turn in this war, and the Halaban launched attack after attack on this defense, matched with a returning fire on Logan Thomas after an end zone catch. But just like 50 Cent, Brian Robinson had Sean Payton saying, "Have mercy on my soul," after 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. One last long-range missile attack was successful as the Broncos played a little volleyball to catch a Hail Mary at the end of the game, but the refs closed their eyes on the game-tying 2-point attempt and missed a pass interference that would have extended the game. Commanders moved to 2-0 with a 35-33 win.
Up to New England, where the tallest lighthouse in the world, not true, shined brightly down on Gillette Stadium in hopes of a Patriot win. After a slow start in the first for the Patriots, they found themselves down 14 at the half. But just when you thought that old dog, Bill Belichick, was out of tricks, he always pulls another rabbit out of the hat as he sent the Dolphins special teams back to school as Brendan Schooler went in motion and blocked a second-half field goal attempt and allowed for the Patriots to really get going. McCorkle Jones was able to toss 2 touchdowns in the fourth to keep it close. Ultimately, it was Raheem Mostert who sealed the deal with his 43-yard scamper for a touchdown. A real treat to Aaron Rodgers' ears. The Dolphins will surely be having sex after this terrific 2-0 start, as Miami will swim back to England after a 24-17 win.
Down to Charlotte for Bryce Young's first ever career start at home as a Panther. And to put it nicely, it definitely looked like a rookie's first career start as the Panther offense looked sluggish all night long. And while the Saints offense didn't look much better, the Saints brought out old reliable as Taysom Hill ran for 75 yards, setting up 2 Tony Jones Jr. touchdowns. Bryce is off to a rough start in the new year as the Saints go marching in this one, 20-17.
Over to the Steel City for the real Monday Night Football game as the Cleveland Predators look to start 2-0 for the first time since 1991. One small factor stood in the way. The Steelers had won 20 straight Monday Night Football games at home in a row, dating back to 1991. The party got started early as Alex Highsmith picked off the Predator early on and went rumbling, bumbling, stumbling into the end zone to give the Steelers a quick 7-0 lead. Things got somber quick, though, as Nick Chubb's knee did a reverse right angle on national television. But luckily for the Clowns, the Jerome Ford Motor Company scored from 3 yards out. But the domestic terrorist himself got the old whiteboard and drew up an exotic slant play for General George Pickens, and Pickett hit him in stride for a 71-yard score. Later in the game, as it looked like the Browns were going to be able to seal the deal, the Steelers activated one of the biggest cheat codes in all of sports, as they made a double renegade game, which resulted in TJ Watt saying, "Turn down for what?" as he returned a fumble for a touchdown sealing the deal for the Steelers. And the Yinzers win their first game of the year 26-22.
And finally, we end in the middle of our great state of Missouri, Como, where the Tigers look to take down the 16th-ranked K-State Wildcats. The offense started hot in this one, as after a K-State opening drive touchdown, Cody Schrader marched down the field and hit Brady Cook for a touchdown pass to tie it. Or at least that's what the CBS Sports app said happened. Once again, this game went back and forth. Shout out to Ray Allen as the old rivalry renewed, and it led to Brady cooking up a lead for Mizzou at the half. But Trayshawn Ward Cameron and Will Howard Hamlin wouldn't go down easy, pushing that K-State offense forward, matching every Mizzou score. But it was no match for the Tiger receiving corps, as Luther was a huge burden for the K-State DBs, going for a $114 and 2 tutties. After a huge late defensive stop, the Drinkwitz offense got the ball with 1:25 left to go. And with 6 seconds to go on the K-State 39, the coaching staff had multiple brain farts, first letting the offense go back out there, and secondly taking a delay of game penalty. At this point, Eli had no choice but to send out the thickest kicker the world has ever seen to attempt what had never been done before, a 61-yard kick by an SEC kicker. And that's exactly what Harrison Ford Mevis did, saving the day to send Mizzou rushing the field to a thrilling victory, 30-27.
That's what happened this weekend, baby. Week 2 of the NFL. One thing that I realized when we were doing that, we missed the Cowboys-Jets game. I think that's my fault, but it wasn't in there, and it did happen.
Wasn't
the
a
Cowboys
game.
won.
It wasn't a game, really.
Yeah, we all knew it was going to happen. So, but yeah, the Cowboys won. They're 2-0. I think they won pretty convincingly too.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
It was 38-10, something like that.
Yeah, that's very convincingly. It was 38-10.
I want to say, yeah.
Was it really that bad? Jeez.
I mean, it wasn't great, Lucas. Yeah.
30-10.
30-10. All right, not bad. Not as bad, I guess.
18-10 at halftime.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Zach Wilson did hit Garrett Wilson for a tutty. But that was about it. I think the Zach Wilson era might be over. And it started last week.
Let's keep in mind, Zach Wilson scored 10 more points than what Daniel Jones did against this Cowboys defense. So let's keep that in mind. Let's judge him fairly. Right. Oh my God, it's bad in New York.
Yeah, it's not good. Both teams 1-1 though, I guess, and the Giants obviously were in a 60-0 hole to start their season, 20-0 after the half in Arizona, and as you pointed out in the rundown, great comeback. Got things going with the read option cheese with Daniel Jones for the first touchdown. The defense for the Giants was pretty bad in that game until they had to be good. And yeah, the Cardinals, man. I don't know if because in both of those games they like played their asses off and then just like let it go at the end, kind of. It doesn't look like they let it go on purpose, but I mean, they're tanking. I think. I think they're still tanking.
Yeah, they definitely are. I don't know if they're intentionally taking or if Gannon is just that bad of a coach that it just appears to be tanking. But yeah, they are. The Nick Chubb injury was really bad, really bad. I mean, that's
yeah. I probably watched it about 1,000,000 times, but yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I watched it a lot. It was so bad that they didn't even show it on the broadcast. I don't know how, but
Except
the
in
video
England.
circulated on the internet. They did show it at the
yeah.
stadium, though. I don't know if you were
Yes.
watching live when that happened, but the crowd reaction
I
to
was.
it, I think that was
Yeah.
everyone's reaction to it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I thought it was pretty crazy that they didn't show it. I feel like you have to show it because, I mean, football is a dangerous game, and it's not like we can just let it get away scot-free when shit like this does happen. I feel like you got to show it. So that is interesting to me. Like I said, they did show it in like all other parts of the world where you watch the game. I know they showed it in England, in the UK and stuff. Obviously, they showed it at a Christchurch stadium, which still doesn't sound right to say, but they showed the fans there. But I don't know. I mean, they showed DeMar Hamlin dying. I feel like they can show this, and it's tough. I mean, yeah, it's not the worst injury I've ever seen, but it was a bad one. Like I said, I mean, his knee formed a right angle, but it was the other direction. I mean, it was crazy to see. And if you didn't really know what you were looking for when you watched the replay at first, you're like, it just looks like a normal tackle. But once you watch it and see what's actually going on with his leg, it is pretty bad. So, yeah, it was pretty somber. Sean Watson, not very good right now to start the season. Yeah, not very good. Baker Mayfield doing the same stuff, if not better, for about, $232 million less, something like that. Pretty crazy. But I still think he can find it. I don't know why, but I still think he can find it. I will say those Browns uniforms were pretty freaking sick, as much as I hate the Browns.
I actually didn't like them.
You don't like them? I thought they were
just
the
super
white
clean.
helmet.
It was just like something you throw on with Little League. It's like, oh, here's your free helmet or whatever.
No, those helmets were sick with the stripes. I thought so, at least.
I mean, they just don't have a logo on their helmet, so it looks just very basic. I thought
no,
it was
none of their helmets have a logo on it, though.
I know, because their logo is a helmet. That's how boring of a franchise they are.
Well, it is Brownie the Elf now, but yeah.
Well, not technically.
He's on the middle of their field, so
yeah.
That's another thing. This was the Patriot game too for the Patriots, and I think every time they have the Pat the Patriot uniforms on, people are just like, why don't they just wear these all the time? I don't. What do you think? I think they're good uniforms. I think it's fine that they only wear them every once in a while. I think it makes them a little bit more special when they just pull those out.
I don't mind them. There's only a few like retro jerseys that I really, really like. I'm excited to see the Buccaneers ones this year. They haven't pulled them out yet, but those are cool. I'm ready for them.
Oilers, I can't wait to see those.
Yeah, those are going to be cool. But the Patriots, they're all right. I think they're better than their current uniforms, but I don't get real horny over the throwback uniforms because I haven't watched football, back then. The last 5 years is when I've been watching football. So,
also, just want to point out once again, The Dolphins didn't wear their candy ass teal uniforms, and they got another win on the road. So 2-0 in the all whites, and if I was them, I would not put on the candy ass uniforms for the rest of the season. It's proving that they don't mess around when they have just traditional white uniforms on, and I think they should just keep with it. Once again, Tua pretty good. Not as good as his first game, but pretty good. The Patriots' defense is good. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, they were able to clamp down on probably the fastest team in the NFL pretty well. Christian Gonzalez for the Patriots, man, he is going to be a stud. I think he might already be a stud. He got up on his interception. Yeah, that was actually a pretty good game when the Patriots started coming back. But yeah, let's see here.
Anything else you want to talk about? I didn't really watch much on Sunday. I'll be honest. This was kind of my week off. I'm excited to get back into the watching this week, but not a lot of watching.
I'll say this: I'm a little surprised at how good the Rams are. They kind of went step for step with the 49ers for a while. It's just that they couldn't finish on some drives, and the 49ers are just loaded. Brock Purdy, I'll say it. This is the first time I can say it. I'm Brock Purdy. I'm not even a fan, but I will say I'm a stan because every time he puts something out on tape, I'm like, why are people hating on this guy? He had a Jimmy G Super Bowl kind of game in this one. He missed a lot of big throws where they could have put up a lot more points. So maybe the Rams defense isn't really that good. I'll say that. I think we've learned that through the first couple weeks. Not that great yet. In fact, I can't name a second player on the Rams defense off the top of my head other than Aaron Donald. So tough scene
Leonard
there.
Floyd's on the Bills now, isn't he?
Yeah. If I looked at their roster, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I know a lot of those guys, but I can't off the top of my head right now. But I'm a little surprised at how good they are. Tutu Atwell and Nakua Pakua are both damn good wide receivers, and Nakua Pakua set the record for most receptions through 2 games, not only as a rookie, but I think ever. I think that's what the stat was. Nakua Pakua? Puka, sorry. Nakua Puka. Not Pakua. Nuka.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I can't even say his name now. Nakua Puka.
Puka Nakua. Backwards.
Puka Nakua, yeah. God damn.
It's a weird name.
Either way, he's a damn stud. Nuka Pakua, Puka Nakua, whatever. He's a damn stud. And a hell of a find out of the great Mormon university that is Brigham Young.
I think that's the first time there's a good player from BYU in the NFL.
Jamal Williams.
He went to BYU?
Yeah.
Okay.
Had sex, and he got in trouble there. That's just something to point out.
That is funny.
Another thing,
at Liberty too.
I thought Jordan Love looked fine, but they ended up losing. Not very happy with that. Seeing that box score.
Yeah, that was a bad matchup for the Packers. We haven't had a good run defense for years. Our run defense has been like our weakness consistently for the last few years, and it is apparent that we haven't fixed it yet. And, the Falcons, one of the best O-lines in all of football, maybe one of the best running backs in all of football, too. He's just an electric runner. And, a team that has
young legs.
Yeah, a team that has both of those combinations and runs the ball a lot because the quarterback sucks, they're probably just going to run down your throat, and that's exactly what happened. And, I'm not worried in the long run. We covered the spread. We're 2-0 on covering spreads, so that's all that matters. Good teams win, great teams cover. So, covered the spread. We're on to New Orleans next week. We're 1-1 on the road. We're still, no worries. It's a tough loss. but nothing to get all up in arms about. It's a long season and
Yeah.
an easy schedule season. So got the Saints next week. We'll bounce back
2-0.
there. Yeah,
That's kind of the same game, though, is it not?
their running game is not nearly as good as the Falcons.
That's true.
Their offense is just bad. But
it still feels like the same game. Just an NFC South opponent, 2-0 on the road, rowdy environment.
Well, the Saints' defense is better than the Falcons' defense.
Yep.
Their quarterback situation is very similar, but the running game is a lot worse for the Saints. That's what I would say.
I would say the receiving game is a lot better, though, for the Saints.
Yes, but our cornerbacks and our safeties, our secondary is pretty good. It's solid.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I'm not worried when you get Derek Carr throwing the balls.
That's true. And the only other game I feel like needs mentioning, and we talked about it pretty extensively in the rundown, was the Commanders at the Broncos. I was a little upset. I was saying some very mean things about Riverboat Ron when the score was 21-3. But they rode the damn boat, and they came back. Some great plays by Brian Robinson and Sam Howell and Logan Thomas and Scary Terry McLaurin. And the defense really stood on their head after they gave up those 21 points.
Can you answer a question? What
Shoot.
is Riverboat Ron? I don't know if I know for sure what Riverboat Ron is. I've heard
he is just Riverboat Ron it's a different type of Ron Rivera. So Ron Rivera last year, not Riverboat Ron. Or the year before that, especially not Riverboat Ron. Kind of being a petty, not being a crazy play caller. That's pretty much what Riverboat Ron is once the crazy play calls start coming out. And we saw that this week after they were down 21-3 is Riverboat Ron came out and started going for 2 and shit and going for it on 4th and just letting Sam sling it around. And they did. In the offensive line, not horrible. I will say this, Sam Howell still gets sacked pretty much harder than a lot of quarterbacks I've seen, though he's fat. He gets like slung down like a rag doll most of the time, which is why I think he should put some of the LBs back on. But at the end of the day, he maybe had the best throw of the day, the throw to Terry McLaurin in the end zone for a touchdown. Yeah, there was another big play in this game. Oh, Kareem Jackson absolutely took off. Was it Logan Thomas's head? I can't remember. Yeah, I mean, absolutely killed him. I think he got ejected and fined.
Sean Payton will pay that fine for him.
You know what? Sean Payton should have to pay that fine, to be honest.
He's probably giving him a bonus for that hit.
Yeah, probably. And Brian Robinson, SEC running back. Shout out to Will. He had Brian Robinson on his bench, who was the number 1 fantasy running back this week. And honestly, shout out to me, though, for having the number 2 fantasy running back on my bench and Kyren Williams. So they had a nice little matchup of their own on our benches as we played each other this week. But, Commanders are 2-0, and I think they said that was the first time since 1993. So that's 30 years.
Snyder effect. He's gone.
Dan Snyder gone. Is it Joe Harris? Is that his name?
Josh Harris.
Josh Harris.
Yeah, it really is incredible how much of a cancer Dan Snyder is. Not only to the world, but especially to that organization. So. Yeah.
I mean, the vibes there are just immaculate right now. And they're not that good, I don't think. They're definitely not NFC Championship game good. They're going to get better probably as the season goes on. And Sam Howell,
Eric Bieniemy,
3-0 as a starter. Oh my gosh! When they were down 21-3, they kept just panning over between Riverboat Ron and Eric Bieniemy, and I have to say it. Eric Bieniemy takes my award for fattest coach of the week. He was looking unbelievably large when they were down 21-3. I mean, his anger was just bursting out the seams, literally. And he just looked very, very large, very, very fat, very, very upset. But yeah, the Howl Band conquered the mountains. No shock there.
Conquered the high ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that I have, the rest of the games I think we covered in the rundown, but the Seahawks and the Lions is just an all-time just fun matchup. And good news, we get that matchup again next year. Those two divisions play each other, so get ready. Bet the over in that one again next year. It's fun how they just offensive juggernauts. It's a shame that the Lions couldn't win that, with all that hype that they have, going into the first game that they dropped it, but they'll be fine in the long run. It was a close game. This Lions team is not only good, but I think they're going to play a lot of fun games this year. They're going to be close in almost every single game, and I love that. So,
yeah. I think that wraps up week 2. Do you want to move over to the Mizzou game?
And we covered that in the rundown college football. Definitely. So this week's slate, or last week's slate technically, week 3, hands down one of the worst slates of college football I've ever seen in my life. There was no good games. The Mizzou game.
What are you talking about? Well, Mizzou, Kansas State was a great game.
That was a great game, but that was a top 3 game, and Mizzou wasn't even ranked. It might have been actually the number 1 game. You could argue Colorado State was the number 1 game. That was pretty awesome, but it was just so late at night. Those were like the only good games that happened the whole day that weren't like Troy and James Madison, that weren't like sicko teams like that. Like, it was just one of the worst slates. Every single good team, I feel like, just played a random FCS school or low-level FBS school and just blew them out. But Mizzou game was electric. Cam, you were there.
Yeah.
You ran on the field.
It was awesome. I knew before the game at like 8 a.m. while we were eating breakfast in Lot 8, tailgating, I was like, if they win this game and it's a close game, we're probably going to rush the field because we have not had a meaningful win like this. We've had some meaningful wins, but not at home. I know we beat Florida a few years ago. We beat South Carolina on the road while they were ranked, I think last year too. We've had some meaningful games, none at home, none like this. And I think I was at the last time we rushed the field as well when we won against Arkansas to clinch the SEC East to go to our second straight SEC title game. And I think that was the last time we ran on the field. But this was an electric finish. Unbelievably boneheaded at the end. A lot of people were blaming Drink for this, which, yeah, he should probably take the bulk of the blame because he's the head coach. But the special teams coach didn't even have his guys on the field. They were just lollygagging around, and you see they zoomed in on Drink, who's yelling at them to get their asses on the field, and then they finally do, and it's too late. 5-yard penalty. And now you have to kick a 61-yard bomb. They iced them. Didn't work. Mevis, the kick is up. It's good. And we were just like all in the stands. We're just like, all right, let's go. We're going. And everybody's just going down the steps. You're trying not to fall and bust your ass, which is why the SEC always finds the schools because of kids getting hurt, people getting hurt when they rush the field. But in fact, there was a girl that busted her ass literally right in front of us as we were going down onto the field. So shout out to her. But she got up and went back onto the field anyway.
Grit.
Just electric. A really good game, too. Good amount of points. I thought if they were going to win this game, it was going to be, I think I predicted 23-17, something like that. Much more high scoring, which was much more enjoyable. A lot more downfield throws. Brady Cook looked good until he kind of hurt his leg, and then he kind of limped through the rest of the game. But ultimately, he did help us go on that game-winning drive. Luther Burden, I'll give it to him. He's really, really gotten a hell of a lot better from last year. So he's kind of become, he looks like Shady McCoy when he catches the ball. I mean, he makes moves all over the field. It's really awesome. So yeah, Brett Norfleet, the freshman tight end, is playing some really, really good football too. So providing Cook with some weapons, who finally practiced today with a leg brace on at practice. He hadn't practiced at all up until today, which is kind of concerning. The game is in 2 days, but he's still looking to start. So yeah, great game, unreal experience.
Yeah, that was certainly, a huge. I had to work during it, but I tell you what, the last 6 minutes, you can bet that I was watching that game. I pulled that up on my phone, and I was doing a little multitasking at work. So, um, it was pretty awesome. I couldn't believe that they had Mevis go out and kick a 61-yarder. I thought there was no chance that he made it, and I think he made it by like a fingernail. It just barely
Oh,
went in.
he probably had another yard and a half, maybe two. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's insane. The longest field goal in SEC history. I'm
Yep.
surprised it's not the longest field goal in college history because I mean, half of the NFL kickers can't even kick a 60-yard field goal
Yep.
like that, especially at the end of the game. So, I'm nearly positive that that kick sealed him a spot on an NFL team whenever he does decide to go pro. Um, but I mean, that was an electric win. That was a win that Missouri desperately needed, I think, just to get some more belief into the football program, to get more belief into the university just itself. Although they did have to pay a $100,000 fine for the, rushing the field, which is just incredibly stupid. But who does that money go to? The SEC or the NCAA?
Yeah, I think it actually goes to the NCAA, but the
I
SEC
hate
has
that.
to
I hate
enforce it.
that organization.
Francois, she said she'll gladly foot the bill. So
Hell yeah.
sweet Queen Francois, thank you.
That's got to be like dropping a few dimes no, I don't know what their financial statements look like,
It's
but
not exactly. She's not exactly making it like an NFL NBA player salary. It's a little expensive, but yeah.
well, it's not
Um,
coming out of her salary. It's coming out
yeah,
of the
that's true. That's true.
yeah, it's just NCAA. We talk about domestic terrorists a lot on this show. Talk about a terrorist organization with the
Organization, yeah.
NCAA. I mean, that is just a world, just networking terrorist
That's a
organization right there.
national terrorist group. Yeah, that's not even just domestic.
Yeah, it has gotten better though after the NIL. Even before NIL happened. We're talking about North Korea levels of dictatorship from the NCAA. But yeah, the $100,000 fine, really, really stupid, but I'm sure it was definitely worth it for, everyone that stormed the field. I wish I was there. I went a week too early to the Mizzou game, so it is what it is, though. It was fun to watch on TV, and Mizzou's got a big game at Memphis this week.
Cam will be there.
Yep, Cam will be there. He's our on-site reporter for every game. He's 3 for 3. They're 3-0 when Cam goes this year. So we're not ranked though. I was a little disappointed by that they ranked Florida over us, despite them having a loss and being ass. But it is what it is. But yeah, if we win this week, we should be ranked because there's just so many ranked on ranked matchups this week.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do want to say this is falling right into my plan. If you remember the college football preview episode, I said Mizzou starts off 3-0. They get the win against Kansas State, but then lose to Memphis. So I'm hoping that it doesn't come true. But,
I feel much better about this game after watching Memphis gave up 261 yards rushing to Navy, who is absolutely god awful, doesn't even run the triple anymore. So, and not only does Navy not run the triple, like I just said, and I love Navy, but they are literally awful. I mean, I was scared they might have to go to FCS, how bad that they've been, and with all the NIL shit going on anymore, I don't know if they can afford it anymore going forward, but we'll see. So that gives me a little bit more hope. Really excited. This is a huge game just for the state of Missouri, for St. Louis, and just for Mizzou. Lots of alumni will be able to go. I hope players' families can still go. It might be a little bit tougher. Obviously, not going to be as many students there, but there will be some. I just hope it's a good crowd in the Dome. It's going to be pretty nostalgic. I know I went to a Rams game during their last season there, and I also went to the last time Mizzou played in the Jones Dome when they played the final Illinois bragging rights game football there, which was an electric factory because that was completely full when we went for that, as it should be.
Yeah.
So yeah, really excited. Big game for guys like Luther Burden and Brady Cook and other guys from St. Louis.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's kind of a homecoming a little bit in a way. But yeah, it'll be a fun game. I think it's 6:30, so that's kind of like
Yes,
prime
sir.
time for a Mizzou Memphis matchup. But definitely not an opponent to overlook if you're the Missouri Tigers. I mean, you don't want to overlook anyone, but especially not Memphis. They're 3-0. They're one of the best teams in their conference. But
Yeah, one of the best group of five.
yeah, I mean, pretty much you win this game, you're ranked. So, and that leads us into the rest of the college football slate, which is this may be the best week of the year. I don't know. I don't know about that, but I mean,
There's usually some really good weeks in mid-October. I feel like Tennessee-Alabama week is always loaded.
yeah, that's true. Well, first we start off. There's 6 ranked on ranked matchups, and then Florida State and Clemson. Who this is probably the game of the year for the ACC, and that's not even one of those 6 games because Clemson isn't ranked. Then you have Alabama, Mississippi, which don't get me wrong, Alabama has been playing awful, so that's an upset watch there. Then
Yeah.
you have some huge Pac-12 matchups with UCLA, Utah, Colorado, and Oregon without Travis Hunter, and Oregon State, Washington State in the battle of the 2 remaining Pac-12 teams. And then probably the game of the week, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Game day is going to be there. And then Iowa at Penn State. That's going to be a whiteout game, but we'll get to that in a second. Iowa is they're on my fantasy corner. So, and then you have Texas Baylor, UNC Pitt. That's always going to be a fun game. And I mean that's the slate, man. It's absolutely loaded. Buckle in. We're fully into conference play now with college football, and it's awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah. Even the 3-0 Fighting Shianos heading to the big house. 3-0 Michigan.
Well, that actually Michigan hasn't played anyone yet, so
Yeah, could be
we'll find out.
Close call towards the end. I highly doubt it, but could be. Great basketball game here as well in the slate. Duke UConn.
Oh, true. UConn 0-3.
Yeah, I think this is the first time Ohio State's played at Notre Dame in 25 years, which is pretty crazy.
That's pretty crazy.
Whiteout, as you mentioned, that usually has a different kind of power behind it. Oregon State, Washington State, that's sneaky. Probably going to be like the craziest game somehow.
Both teams might just unite in that game. They might just like play together because they're like we
For the
stand with
pack.
each other.
For the 2-pack.
The Pac-12, the Pac-2.
Yeah, this is going to be a crazy slate.
Even Arkansas LSU. I mean, that's might not even be a top 10 game of the week. That's how
Yeah, I
crazy
know
the
that's a
slate is.
crazy. That's a good SEC game though. Now Oregon is 21-point favorites. That's got to be one of the biggest spreads for a 2 top 10 or 2 top 20 teams squaring off.
Yeah. It's a big. What is Colorado? We're going to find out big time this week what Colorado is. Obviously,
Huge.
they're 3-0. They've already tied their over/under win total for the year. They just need one more win to hit that over. But at Oregon, this is a very tough matchup. And if they somehow win this, they'll be going. USC will be coming into Colorado the next week for probably the biggest game.
Man. Holy cow, yeah. I'll be honest, I don't think they win this game.
No.
especially at Autzen. I mean, they barely scraped by against Colorado State. They're
It's not
still a
very good.
solid team. It's just Oregon is a for real team in terms of top 10 teams. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, but they just got to cover. I think the Deion Sanders lore will continue on.
Yeah, I mean, it's year one. So
Yeah, 3 games in, a quarter of the way in, and it's already just established. It's insane. Anything else you want to get into with the college football landscape?
Uh, yeah, I'm sure there's some other niche games going on this week that we're forgetting, but there's a couple really good rivalry games going on this week. Wisconsin Purdue's this week.
Friday night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Um, and I guess that is about it in terms of rivalry games. Virginia Tech, Marshall. We are Marshall.
They beat Notre Dame last year.
Yeah. Michigan State. First game after firing Mel Tucker. That'll be interesting.
That whole situation is weird.
Yeah, it is very weird.
But if you're a guy that's
Iowa
not
State lost last week to Ohio. That's a battle of because they're playing Oklahoma State, who lost to USA South Alabama, and so that'll be maybe the sicko game of the week.
wait, who lost to Ohio?
Oklahoma State lost to Southern Alabama by like 27 points, and then Iowa State lost to Ohio 10-7.
No.
So that might be your sicko game of the week.
Shout out Trevor.
Shout out Trevor.
Yikes. Yeah, great slate. I'm excited. This is definitely a glued to your couch watching your TV type of weekend. I can't wait. I'm so excited. This is what college football. This is what America's about. I mean, Trump's running on the phrase, make America great again. It already is great. I mean, just look at this college football slate and tell me that America isn't great. You can't.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this is, we always, when you're talking about U.S. history, we always talk about the undermining factors of what led to this war, what led to this war. But at the end of the day, we're always fighting to preserve this kind of weekend, this kind of slate. I mean, America was founded on slates like this. So, that's what our troops fight for. This is what it's all about.
yeah. If you really think about it, I mean, all those wars, they were fought in the past before football started. So if you really think about it, the sport of football kind of took war out of the United States, at least, necessary war. Shout out George Bush. But yeah, it really just, it saved America. So, honestly, we should just write in football for the president of the United States next year on election.
I'd vote for a football.
I would vote for the Duke, honestly.
Yes.
So yeah, you want to get into fantasy corner here
Absolutely.
before we get to the week 3 preview slate, where Cam will pick the games because it's his week. Did we ever decide on the thing? Is it me going first?
The method is whoever's stardom is above the other person's stardom. That's who goes first.
All right, so that'd be me. So I have 2 stardoms. My first is Kylen Granson. He is a receiver for the Indianapolis Colts, and he caught his first career touchdown this past week against the Texans. He reached out into the end zone. It was barely crossing the goal line type of situation, but he got to keep the football. And he did a photo shoot the next day with his wife. And, like whenever you have a baby, you do like a photo shoot and stuff. That's what he did, but he did it with the football that he caught his first career touchdown. It was one of the coolest, most hilarious things.
That is one of the biggest football guy moves I think I've ever heard. That's awesome.
Did you see that, Cam?
I didn't. That makes me happy, though.
You'll have to look it up afterwards. You could probably just search in Kylen Granson football picture and it'll pop up. But it was I mean, it was awesome. I'm fully in on that guy now. I hope he has a great career because that's hilarious. Are you seeing it? He even got his
That's
wife in on one
wonderful.
of them too.
That is wonderful. Oh yeah, even the wife is. She actually doesn't look very happy about this, but
No,
that's all
he
right.
definitely forced her into it. It was
That's
definitely his
fine.
idea.
That's fine.
Yeah. And then my other stardom is Adam Wainwright. You may be thinking, why are you starting him? He has a 7 ERA. He's 5-11 on the year. But he had a truly a vintage Adam Wainwright performance on Monday night against the Brewers. I was there reporting live along with our baseball extraordinaire, Jacob Baldwin. We both went to witness history potentially, and that's exactly what we witnessed. I have to tell you, Cam, it was one of the most electric atmospheres I've ever seen at Busch Stadium. It might have been the second behind the playoff game last year. That was undoubtedly the
Was
biggest.
it even full? It didn't even look
No,
close to full.
no, but the fans that were there wanted to be there. All the fans that were in that
All right,
stadium
man. All
were
right.
passionate. Like just because you fill a stadium doesn't mean you have passionate fans. Every single fan in that stadium was like a diehard, passionate baseball St. Louis Cardinals fan. And I mean, it was fun, rooting for Adam Wainwright out there. He threw 7 shutout innings en route to a win, a 1-0 win, and his 200th win in his career, which only 3 Cardinal pitchers have done, Bob Gibson being one of them. So, I mean, he really just elevates himself into that category. It's a huge milestone for his career. He came out, he gave a little bit of a speech afterwards addressing the crowd, and it was really cool because I don't know, man, just every double play that he got because he didn't strike anyone. He struck out a few people, but it was mostly the double plays that were electric, and everyone would just stand up and yell and scream, and it's just really cool. Us being out of it now, actually officially eliminated, which I'll get to that on my sit-em. When you're that far out of the playoff race to still be that passionate and have something to root for, it's really cool. And I don't know how the Cardinals do it, but they somehow always have something to root for. So really cool.
I think it's, I know we give the Cardinals a lot of shit the past few years because they're not living up to our expectations. But it just goes to show, like you just said, we always have something to root for. It goes to show that we're not a shitty organization. I'm looking at, just across all sports here right now. You look at an organization like the Bears, who just can't figure it out. Always out of it, never have anything to root for. You know what I mean? It's organizations like that. Now the Cardinals, probably what is this the worst season since we've been alive, or was 2007 worse? I think this season's probably been just as bad.
This season is on pace to be worse than that year.
Yeah,
So, yes.
so really, really bad, and yet here we are. We still had something to look at and cheer for, I guess.
Yeah, to root for them to have fun at the ballpark.
It is something to tip your hat to because, us Cardinal fans, we know that we probably have had it too good, even though we haven't won anything really significant in a while. But we do have it pretty good when, we're always usually in contention. We just have extremely high expectations, and we get let down easy because we're big fans. But, yeah, or a great fan base. But, yeah.
Yeah. And it just goes to show you how great of a guy Adam Wainwright is. He's having a really rough year, mostly just because he's old. He can't throw a ball over 90 miles an hour, which makes it a lot easier to hit. But to go out there, throw 7 shutout innings against a first place team, it was just awesome. And it couldn't have happened to a better guy. He's a Roberto Clemente award winner. He's a Cardinal legend, World Series champion. Should have probably won a Cy Young, but didn't. And he's just, an icon in St. Louis. And it was just really cool to see, him get that big milestone. So definitely start Adam Wainwright. And he's got a big weekend coming up. We'll probably talk about that next week. But my sit-em is the first is obviously the Cardinals because they got officially eliminated a few days ago from postseason contention, which to no one's surprise, but it is official now. So the last week and a half doesn't mean anything at all. Nothing. We'd actually probably prefer to lose than win. So, yeah. And then my other sit-em is Yusei Kikuchi, a pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto. Sorry, you don't say the second T.
This is a crazy story.
Yeah, wild. So he exited the game the other night. I think it was Tuesday night, I want to say, with cramps. And they asked him after the game, what was cramping? How bad was it? And he said that he thinks the cramps were caused because he didn't get enough sleep the night before. He said he only had 11 hours of sleep as opposed to his 13 to 14 usual hours. And yeah, as an American, that is just baffling. I can imagine probably in their culture that's not like super, baffling, but in the American culture, it's go, go, go. You got to do as many things as you can, and that results in 8 hours of sleep being a very good night of sleep. And this guy, he got 11 hours, and he said he didn't get enough, and it's just crazy. So sit him for showing off and being cocky. I don't like it.
All right.
And then my sleeper is Iowa. They're 15-point underdogs going into the whiteout Pennsylvania State Stadium on Saturday night. And while they may not win, they probably won't. It's going to be fun to root for because their offensive coordinator, Brian Ferenz, obviously he's got to get that 325 points on offense this year to keep his job. And if you missed it last week with a minute left in the game, he went for it on fourth down while up by 24 points with a minute left in the game, went for it on fourth down and scored to put another 7 up on the board. So, I mean, really, you just blame Iowa.
I love that.
They gave him the contract. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Yeah. Yeah, pretty cool.
You think they'll cover?
Huh?
You think they'll cover? I think it was 15.
Yes, I think they'll cover that easily. I don't know if they'll win, but I don't think Penn State's as good as what people are saying. And the over-under is 40 points. I don't know if that'll go over. That might be an under. But
I don't think that's over either.
I don't think that's over. But they will cover.
All right. My stardom is fat black punter Presley Harvin. This guy, if you know anything about him, see, I've been a Presley Harvin fan for a while because I'm a huge North Carolina fan, so I have to watch a bunch of ACC football on the ACC network. Georgia Tech always gets their games stuck on ACC network because they're never good enough to play on ESPN or ABC or whatever. So I've watched a fair amount of Georgia Tech games over the years, including when Presley Harvin was on the roster. And if you don't know who this guy is, he is a extremely fat punter who just so happens to also be African American, so you don't see many of those. I think the last one that I was able to come up with in my head that was good in the NFL was Marquette King, who was pretty damn good for a while. Him and Johnny Hecker kind of ran the punter show for a while, and I guess McAfee at the time as well. But on Monday Night Football, I mean, you could have easily have given this guy MVP if you weren't going to give it to like TJ Watt, because he pinned the Browns down at the 1, inside the 10, and I think inside the 10 another time as well. That could be fake, but the punt down at the 1 yard line and another one inside the 10. Just a crazy good night punting the ball. Pretty much, like I just said, I mean, practically won the game for the Steelers because the Browns were not able to go down the field. Deshaun Watson wasn't able to do anything. And I love it when he has these punts because especially in the Steelers standalone games, Luke, because when he has a great punt, everybody on Twitter just posts his Georgia Tech highlights where he was the fattest he's ever been in his entire life. And that have you seen the play where it's a fake punt and it's like the worst fake you've ever seen, and he just throws a fucking laser for a touchdown.
I have seen that.
I think
Yeah.
it's against Miami. I can't remember for sure, but it was hilarious. I'm pretty sure that's why the
All-time
Steelers
video.
drafted him. I'm pretty sure that's why the Steelers drafted him. They saw that laser of a throw that they drafted him.
Dan
So
Campbell's
yeah,
punching the wall.
yeah. He's still fat. Not as fat, still fat though, and it was pretty awesome to see. So I'm starting Presley Harvin. I think you should too. My sit-em Luke is Bustin Fields. I hate to be that guy, but it might be over. I don't. It's year 3. It's year 3. He took a big jump from year 1 to year 2, which was last year. There hasn't been any indicator that he has taken any jumps whatsoever here in year 2 to year 3. There was a screenshot that went viral that, don't get me wrong, this happens in the NFL, happens in college, and especially happens in high school. But when you're down trying to go and lead your team to victory, and you have a wide receiver wide open in a naked seam, and your offensive line is providing you protection, which everybody always grills the offensive line for not giving Justin Fields time, and he's wide open for a touchdown and you don't even throw it and it ends up being a sack, it's a tough look. And that's obviously one cherry-picked play, but if you watch this game and if you watched week 1, he can't get the ball down the field. He is still zeroing in on receivers and not going through his reads. They're not letting him run the ball, which is probably more on the coaching staff. But I think it's also gotten into his head where people are like, you need to be a pocket passer. And so he's not running as much. And they can't – the play calling looks like the Gary Pinkel offense. Lots of screens, and even they aren't completing the screen passes, which is horrendous in the NFL. And it's really hard to watch. It's kind of like, who's more Iowa offense, Chicago or the Steelers right now? I think it actually might be the Steelers, but
Yeah, because
the
the
Bears,
Steelers have a good defense.
yeah,
So they can play more Iowa football. And they have the colors.
and that's another thing. And I know my sit-em was just Bustin Fields, and you should sit him. You should not start him in fantasy. But the Bears defense, I was talking with one of my friends who's a long time Bears fan. We were talking. The Bears at least always had a good defense to kind of carry them through the season to keep them competitive. They don't even have that anymore. That is gone, and it's just a bad franchise right now. It's really bad. They have a tough schedule coming up, and I think it's like if they don't win one of their next 4 or 5 games, it'll be a full calendar year without a win. Just really, really bad stuff. I know Luke probably is enjoying this, but it's honestly pretty sad to see what is going on to the good people of Chicago.
It's more of where are the people that were calling him a top 10 quarterback at the beginning of the year? Where were the people that were calling him a dark horse MVP candidate at the beginning of the year? That I saw right through that. I was like, whoa, do you even watch this guy? Like, have you seen the Bears team? Like, they're not that good of a team. And, granted, you can still show flashes without having a good team, but that certainly helps. And people that were picking the Bears first because of Justin Fields, he's not even a top 20 quarterback. And when I said that at the beginning of the year, I got a bunch of hate. What? Who is better than Justin Fields? And I named 20 quarterbacks. Well, they're not better than Justin Fields. Well, do you believe me now? I like Justin Fields as a guy, but I can't, I told everyone, I told you so. It's one of those moments. As a Packers fan, I can see that. The Bears will never have a good quarterback. That's just something that'll never happen. That's a good sit-em though, Cam.
Yeah. And my sleeper is basketball schools, Luke. So if you didn't see the graphic, there are about 8 basketball schools, so as many people would say, that are 3-0 right now. And the graphic only included 6, but I found 2 more as well. Kansas is 3-0. North Carolina is 3-0. Duke is 3-0. UCLA is 3-0. Kentucky is 3-0. Syracuse is 3-0. Maryland is 3-0. And Louisville is 3-0.
Are you calling Louisville a basketball school?
I am. I think they're more than a football school.
Well, they've already matched their amount of basketball wins from last year.
That's true. It was a down year last year, the ACC and for Louisville, but they'll be back, I'm sure, at some point. I guess that is true. Maybe 7. But yeah, it's just funny when teams like that start off so hot, and they aren't actually bad either. Like North Carolina, not bad. Duke, pretty damn good. I'm not sure about Kentucky. Kansas and UCLA both look okay. Syracuse looks kind of good as well. So we'll see.
Their quarterback, Garrett Schrader, is so fun to watch.
He is. He's awesome.
Go watch his highlights. It's awesome.
The quarterbacks of these teams, there's 4 really, really good quarterbacks out of this. And if you count Maryland as well, 5. Listen to some of these quarterbacks. Jalen Daniels, Drake May, Schrader. I can't remember if it's Riley Leonard for Duke, but he is really, really good. Best quarterback they've had since Daniel Jones. And then Tulia Tagovailoa. So some really good quarterbacks at these basketball schools as well. So that's my sleeper.
Yeah. And shout out to Dalen Carnell.
Yeah. Shout out to my guy Dalen. We got a picture after the game. Dude played awesome. He's just a menace. The whole secondary is really fun to watch because they just fly around. The whole defense is, but the secondary is really fun to watch. But I love watching Dalen. They send him in on blitzes all the time. He's in the backfield, it seems like, all the time. And he had a great game. So really fun to watch.
Yeah, the picture is it's going to be an all-time picture. So
I'm glad I got to have that memory hold it.
I found it kind of funny how like the players were walking up into the stands like that. Like was halfway up.
Yeah, well his family was up there, so he went and met with them. And that's how I found him actually, because I found him with his parents and stuff. So,
you went up while he was talking to his family.
As we were running off, like we were getting back off the field. I saw him up there because he's tall as hell. He's 6'4",
and he's in a jersey.
Sticks out. Yeah, and the jersey. Yeah. So yeah, well that's how he recognized me. He's like, "Oh, that's the dude that has my jersey." So there we go.
Yeah, that's gotta be pretty cool too. Kim, you want to put the graphic on for week 3? Excuse me. So
yes, sir.
We can run through these picks. I don't know what our record is through week 2, but it's not very good.
It was 9-7. We had a chance to go 10-6, but there was a double veto in the what game was it? Oh, Carolina, New Orleans. You had a little bit too much faith in Bryce's, which is okay. That's fine. This is also on us, and more importantly, me. We had no idea about I totally forgot about the Monday Night Football Pittsburgh stat, even though they have one every single year at home. So that's on me. That's on me. Hand up. We missed that because if we would have known that stat, we would have probably picked the Steelers. So, yeah. But I believe we went 9-7. I'm going to read it off here. Hold on. Actually, let me put the graphic in. I didn't put the graphic in to start because I was just going to read it off my phone, but let me put it in.
Yeah, put that because I kind of want to see it too, even though it's your week to pick. So obviously, Cam will pick all the games. I get 2 vetoes, and then he gets 1 reverse veto. Kind of like, in Congress, they can do that to the president. They have enough support. And then, hopefully we can do a little better this week because we got to get above 500.
We're working towards it. We're definitely getting closer. So let me make sure that we did go 9-7. So Philadelphia won, so that's 1-0. Green Bay lost, so that's 1-1. Buffalo won 2-1. Cincinnati lost 2-2. I know that was a toss-up game for us.
It's great podcast.
Detroit lost 2-3. The Chargers lost 2-4. Tampa Bay won 3-4. Kansas City won 4-4. Houston lost 4-5. San Francisco won 5-5. Giants won 6-5. Dallas won 7-5. Washington won 8-5. Miami won 9-5, and then Carolina lost, and Cleveland lost, so 9-7. So we were 9-5 going into the last two games, and we dropped both of them. So
we couldn't pick off one. It's a shame.
Yeah. So we are sitting at 15-17 right now. So
let's go, baby. Grind to 100 wins.
Throw that on there. All right, 15-17.
That was a great set of podcasting there for.
Yeah, for real.
All right, who you got tonight?
Giants at San Francisco. I'm going to go with San Francisco, Lucas. And I know that I think CMC may have got banged up, but Saquon is even more banged up. So, and what do the Giants really have after that? Not a lot. So I'm going to go with San Francisco. Any rebuttal there?
No.
All right.
I hope they lose, but that's my only rebuttal.
Yeah. Tennessee at Cleveland. Okay, so this starts off the weekends or the Sunday slate. I feel like we kind of just got duped by going with the Predator last time. Tennessee.
This is a disgusting game, though.
This is really gross, yeah.
I take Vrabel, honestly.
I kind of want to just take Vrabel, too, just because I hate the Clowns so much. We'll go with them. That could bite us. I'm not going to lie. Cleveland is probably going to be favored in that game by a few points.
Oh, yeah.
Atlanta at Detroit. I'm going to go with Detroit. This is probably going to be a shockingly close game, I feel like. Because the Falcons are kind of just playing with a lot of juice.
Yeah, I will say that. The Falcons have surprised me this year. They're a little better than what I thought. So,
okay, so this game, I thought you said this game was in New Orleans. So this is actually in Green Bay. So I'm going to go with the Packers.
No, I never said that. I said this was our homecoming. We've played 2 straight games on the road. So, first home game for the Pack.
Okay. Denver at Miami. Give me Miami. Surely Sean Payton has got to rally the troops at some point. Starting off 0-3 is going to be a really rough look for them.
Yeah, considering Nate Hackett started off 2-1 last year.
Exactly.
But I don't know. This could be a game that I feel like the Broncos might just pull off, but I am not going to veto it by any means.
Yeah, I
got a feeling.
It kind of depends on how hot of a start Russ gets, because he had a hot start last week, and then,
I don't think it matters. He had a hot start the last 2 weeks. It just doesn't matter. Their team is not that good.
This is the battle of something's got to give. Chargers at Minnesota.
Loser leaves town game? Question mark. Both 0-2.
I think the Chargers win. They've got to win.
Yeah, this is a hot seat game.
This is like
Daily.
For the Vikings. If you lose this game, you might as well sell Cousins and tank for Williams.
Yep. Sell them to the Jets, baby. That's what I'm looking for.
And the Chargers, this is a must-win. I think you elevate this to a must-win. So, there you go. New England at the New York Jets. Luke, I think New England might win this one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thoughts?
They're 0-2.
I just think
they're
they need to win.
They're going to play against the Jets. Belichick doesn't let them lose this game. There's no way.
I think so too. And the Jets need to win too if they want to keep. I hate to say it, but to keep their playoff hopes intact, just because they need to get wins while Zach Wilson's still, because he's not going to be good for a while. I'm not saying he's not going to be good I'm just saying he's going to develop, I think, maybe throughout this season a little bit more than he has the first couple. But it's going to take some time.
And
Because
they got the Chiefs next week.
he already looks better than what he did last year. And I honestly think that's probably literally all just Aaron Rodgers rubbing off on him. Shout out to Deshaun Watson. But
it's hard to look worse than what he did last year.
That's true as well. Buffalo at Washington.
It's your pick, Cam. You're weak to pick.
I have. So I'll tell you what my brain is saying. Buffalo. No questions asked. Put down the phone. And my heart is saying the Commanders.
Me too.
And the heart has no thought behind it. It's just like Sam Howell. Sam Howell and the Commanders, your boys, are 2-0. Riverboat. Yeah, return of Riverboat Ron. So let's go.
Yeah, let's put it down. Let's do
Should we? It's such a bad pick.
They're at home. Josh Harris is going to be in the house. They're going to lose, but it's fun to pick.
Yeah, that's a tough pick. I don't really like that one at all, but
this next one doesn't have a lot of thought behind it, though.
Yeah, give me Saxonville
over Houston.
Give me Baltimore 3-0.
I don't think Indy's going to be. I don't think Richardson's going to be back for him. So.
No. Carolina at Seattle. Give me Seattle, man. And our NFC South winner is not looking very good. Maybe we should have looked at the schedule for some of these teams. Nah, that makes it worse. I like our previews when we just don't know shit. Just throw stuff at the wall.
It's just as accurate as if we did know. So,
yeah. Chicago at Kansas. Give me Kansas City.
Oh my God, that's the game of the week too. That's going to be nationally televised. Yikes!
Oh my God. Dallas at Arizona. Give me the Cowboys.
Oh my God, this afternoon slate is brutal.
Is this Sunday Night Football? I believe it is. Pittsburgh at Las Vegas.
Ew. PU.
All-time rivalry game.
Yeah, this is. I mean, it's a historic game with the Steelers and the Raiders, but it kind of reminds me of just like if the Mets and I don't know, the Giants played on Sunday Night Baseball, where it's like both of these teams aren't very good, but they're big markets, so we're going to put them on the prime time. It's just gross, though. It's a gross matchup to have on Sunday Night Football. I probably won't watch, just because this is.
I'll watch. I will for sure be watching.
All right.
I think I'm going to go with Pittsburgh, even though Jimmy G's kind of a dog.
Yeah, well, I said I'm picking against Las Vegas every game this year, so yeah, I'll have to agree with that. Battle of the Watts, though, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so what the fuck is this? 2 Monday night games again?
I don't know what they're doing.
I'll be honest, Luke. There was a lot of people that were really excited about the double Monday night game. I'm not a fan. No. I'm not a fan at all. I like just having one. I don't like having to switch channels.
On a Monday night.
I'm not a fan. Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. Battle of 2-0 teams. Gonna be. I think this one might get weirdly close. I think Philadelphia wins like 19-17.
That's fine with me. Love Baker, though. Rooting for Baker.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be close. Rams at Cincinnati, rematch of the Super Bowl. Man, Joe
Rams
Burrow
have looked
has to
better than the
win on
Bengals
Monday
this year.
night. Cincinnati has to win here on Monday night.
Yeah, they do.
I think it's a must-win, in fact.
I do, too. You can't start off 0-3.
Yeah, I think we got to. Man, they have
Especially if
not
the
looked
Ravens
good.
go 3-0.
They have not looked good though. But we're gonna go with Bungles.
All right. How about that? No vetoes from me this week.
No vetoes.
I love it.
The only pick I really feel really gross about is the Commanders one. I'll admit it, but
Hey, you gotta
it's
do that
okay.
sometimes. You got to stand out a little bit.
So,
All right, that's week 3 picks. You want anything else you want to get into before we end the show here? We're an hour 20, so.
I think that's it, my friend.
All right.
Go Tigers.
Great football weekend coming up. The baseball season's wrapping up next weekend, so I think we'll probably we might have to get Mr. Jacob Michael Baldwin back on the show for a preview. But my Diamondbacks are looking good for the playoffs, so shout out all you haters that called me wrong on that take. I just want to point that out. We'll probably get more into that next week, but yeah, well, I guess we'll see you then. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, and have a
Also, go
great
Blue
football
Jays.
weekend. Have a great football weekend.